What's up guys, welcome to this video. I know it's usual on this channel usually is quiet, but in preparation for my newest short film. It's obviously dropping, right? As you can see, the timeline is there and all that, so I'm not gonna play it. Oops, that's my phone. I'm not gonna play it, but you guys just have to wait. Now my reason for creating this live stream is because of I've noticed that when we like, I don't know, there's this of course this is footage from Joro Uber. I'm going to mute it to avoid any copyright claims. So this is the stuff. I don't know, do you as, like, let's just say as a colorist, because I'm not sure, I don't think anyone works like especially in like Kenya. I don't think anyone works full-time as a colorist. But if you get to the process of color grading, if I ask you, what do you notice that is wrong with this image, right? And it's not that I'm throwing shade on the people of the show. The show is good, okay? That's why I'm even using the clips, because I was watching them. But do you notice anything wrong? And this is something very, very common with a lot of like Kenyan music videos. Just basically things that are professionally shot. I don't know, cause what is wrong with this footage in actuality is it's flat, okay? And there's some color that has been, they have tried to bring some color back in, but I don't still see, it's not like a vibrant image, okay? And I don't know, maybe that's like a Kenyan style, but for me this really annoys me and disturbs me a lot. So first of all, I'll go ahead and say that there's a reason as to why these cameras offer the flat profile, okay? Like for me, in my case, I've installed a flat picture profile on my camera, which is called Cine Style, right? So Cine Style, and it allows you to, like, the reason why people shoot flat is for dynamic range. So if you're a filmmaker, you already know that, okay? So if you shoot flat, you're more likely to retain more detail in the image, okay? So it's not, because I mean cameras don't, these cameras, I think this image is kind of good. Cameras normally don't see as well as we do. Like the dynamic range that our eyes have is very good compared to that of cameras, and it's very few cameras, I would say, Ari, Alexas especially, those ones are the ones that I would say are really that good. Okay, so yeah, man. um let's get on to the color grading, okay? So flat footage, okay? So it's I kind of see the color grading, but I don't feel it there. And the reason why you color grade is to, first of all, making sure that the skin pops and making sure that someone can concentrate on what you're actually seeing, right? So, and forgive me whether you might hear noises outside, but basically, yeah. So the first step in color grading is, first of all, identifying the lighting of the shots, okay? So what do I mean by lighting? So if I open an example of this, like folder on my computer here, rolling, I'm using footage from let's see, where is this? I'm using footage from the the film It's Time. So when I talk about like lighting setup, I wanted to check whether there is audio, desktop audio. Okay, so when I talk about like lighting setup, is I mean this, okay? So the way, like, in most cases I don't move lights around, okay? So I think there was a light beaming from outside inside, but I don't normally move lights around. But the reason why you categorize scenes as through lighting setup is because like colors and shadows might be different in different shots, okay? So even if you see in this case there's a lot of highlights, but in the case of like this one, even though it's still the same light setup, some things have definitely changed. There is no way that this is still like the same shot, right? So some things have changed. I can also notice that there's a bunch of noise in the image, which is a problem with my camera. But yeah, this is a very good example, and you can see this is very flat. It's almost the same as these ones here, okay, and these ones are already produced. So that's why I was saying, like, as a colorist, should be able to notice such stuff. So I'm not going to dive on this one so much. I'm going to first of all go to this flat one. Let's go to this flat one and try and start fixing this one as the first one. So let's see. Let's put this on a different track, put this up there, move this out of the way, and just let's deal with this. Okay, so the good thing about this is that the lighting is not changing that drastically. So the good thing is that there's a lot of dynamic range. I can see outside, I can also see inside, so it's pretty well lit. Okay, so the very first thing that you need to do is, and I'm using DaVinci Resolve 17, but the DaVinci is free. The only thing that there's a few things that are not in the free version, one being denoising, so don't expect to see denoising, but this footage is already good, so I don't need denoising. Normally you will start with the denoising node. So the first one would be for contrast, the second one will be for exposure, the third one will be for color balance. But for this one, I will say add a splitter combiner. So it will go. It's a lot of noise outside by the way, so, and possibly to just guide yourself. Let me delete this one. Just guide yourself. Make sure you rename these nodes properly, right? So just come up here, and I don't know why there's no shortcut for renaming, because this is so annoying, but just come up here and say label selected node, call this contrast, go to this other one, go to color again nodes, and label this one again and say call this exposure. The other one is color balance, and there's also another one for saturation. That's also another thing that is missing on this shot, saturation. So it's already color graded, but trust me, you can make the image look different without breaking it. So when I talk about contrast, the very first thing you need to do when you're dealing with flat footage is come to this section here. Make sure you're under parade. You see the shadows are almost not touching the bottom, and that's a problem. That's why the image doesn't look contrasty, which, you know, creates that cinematic look. But if I was just to drag this curve and push the shadows down, do you see? Right, you add back the contrast, and as you can see, that hazing is already starting to go away. Okay, so another thing, now once you've now like dealt with the contrast, or instead of using this line, you can just come here and let's just reset this using this button there, go back. You can just use this contrast that is usually down here. Where is it? Where? Not this one. These ones are the new ones introduced. Yeah, this one. You see, it's also going to do the same thing, but I don't like this one. So you see, it's blowing out the highlight. I don't like that method a lot. I just prefer using this curve so that I can drag whatever I need down. Okay, and I think also I can try and push the midtones up a little bit, and I'm using a tablet, that's why you can see my movement is precise like that. And then now when I go to exposure, this is where now you mess with your brightness and the dark areas. I think for now I can say the image is kind of good, and that works only for this shot. Okay, in this shot lighting is different, so but you can clearly see if I pop it back in and out, it's getting there, but it's not yet there. So color balance, this is the red, green, and blue. So if you want to take out the reds, for this image I would say it's kind of balanced, so I don't really need to take a lot of the colors out. So I'm going to bring back my saturation maybe to around something like 66, and because this footage was flat a lot, I can have and you can see already just from messing around with the curves there, you can see the skin is already starting to come back, so you can see. And I prefer a color. Now one thing that I notice is there's a lot of magenta on these windows, so I might have to go and mess around with the green. So this node, go to the got this one here, and it's mostly on the highlights, so maybe I can try and push in some green, but I can see it's messing up the highlights. Okay, no, let's try the reds. Let's try the blues. I'm looking at the image, but my monitor is not color accurate, so I'd prefer looking at. You can see there's a lot of blue, right? So I think I need to take care of the blue a little bit. Maybe push the blue down a little bit, because you can see it's doing a very big job up there. So maybe let's mess with the gain, bring the blue back. Just making sure that if you want a color balanced image, now that's your own choice. If you want a color balanced image, that's for you. I'll say I try to make sure that everything is on the same place there on the parade. As you can see, I don't like getting rid of green, because green is one of those I think essential colors. As you can see, I'm already even breaking up the image, but as you can see, big difference. So let's reset majority of this stuff, but because I think the blue is what I need to take down, and also maybe I'll take down a little bit of the green, a little bit, not so much. Okay, so the next thing is this is the saturation, right? Saturation is kinda okay, and I think I should chop up this footage, because these shots are clearly not the same. Okay. Oh, there. So that's where it cuts, so that I can split these shots. Just give me a few seconds. I should have done this before going live, but bear with me a little bit. Just talking again. However, Castle, this Njoro did a good job. He looks like your typical Uber guy. Yeah, I think that's the last one. Yep. So now that I've chopped up the edit, like I've recreated the edit, at least now I can that's what I'm saying, you need to chop it up, is this cannot be the same with this. Okay, obviously this doesn't need the exposure, so I need to reset majority of this stuff for this one, and you can see at least that way I can push the shadows down a little bit. I think for me that's better. Yeah, I like that. The colors look vibrant, but I think I'm crushing the shadows a little bit too much. We can tone down the highlights. For things like highlights, I think highlight I prefer using the log wheel. So highlight is gain, but I prefer using this log wheel. So let's bring down the highlights a little bit. But you can see it's losing a lot of clarity, so you can bring them up or down, but there's a lot of exposure on the shot there. So making sure that just comparing and contrasting. As you can see, it's very different if you look at the parade, this compared to this. See, this one is all over the place, this one is just here. And the good thing is that you can copy color grade, so you can just control select and the middle mouse click and they should copy. So same case for these ones, just like that, right? Or you can group them by selecting this, all of them are like the specific shots, and add into a new group. Depends on your preferable way of working, but as you can see, it's a big difference compared to this and this and this. And this, mind you, is a show that is already presented. So let me just use Cinema Viewer, okay, for your ease. Okay, and oh no, let me just do this. I have two monitors. I'm going to say I'm going to move my clean feed. Let me just give me a second. I'm going to move my clean feed on the monitor that I'm currently streaming. Okay, so this is without color, and this is with color. As you can see, major difference, and I wish most shows would be doing this, because I find it quite annoying that people leave the footage flat, and it's unusual. It doesn't look natural to my eyes, right? So as you can see, just from a few things here and there, bringing back the contrast, already it looks okay. So that's the very first thing you should always do, okay? Making sure that you fix. As you can see, she's dark, okay? You see her skin looks lifeless, but if you just apply the contrast and the color grade, you can see some pink is coming back in her skin, like, and the skin like starts to look natural, okay? So the other better ways of making the skin look natural, just by using something like a layer node. So let's bring this back, and this is a saturation. I'm just going to create another node, and under it I'm going to come to color nodes, parallel node. Okay, so the parallel node works like this. Okay, this whatever is not parallel, actually it's supposed to be layer. That's strange. No, let's delete this. Sorry for that. It's supposed to be nodes, layer node. Whatever is below is supposed to take precedence over whatever is above. So what I mean is I'm just going to go to the layer below, right? And I'm going to qualify the skin. So I'm just going to select skin. You can see the skin is ikona hue ya purple. I think it's the video breaking apart because I downloaded it and it has YouTube compression. So if you want to see what your HSL has selected, you need to look at that like that. So clearly needs to be a little bit wider. See, you're just isolating the skin. Okay, so don't worry, this is beards. Beards are not the skin, that's hair. But actually it's done a pretty good job. This is now the benefit of having a good camera that is picking up the appropriate details. Now to help, let me show you. Oops. I think wait, I need this to be the first node, so I'm going to select this. I'm going to select this, and this should go there, right, like that. So the contrast. Now this is why, but this is now a feature of DaVinci, the paid version, to help your HSL qualifier to make sure that it does the right selection. Sometimes you may not notice it, but denoising helps smoothen out the colors. So I'm just going to do 5 better, going to say medium, and then I'm going to crank up a little bit to smoothen out the image. And then if I come back, in most cases, if the image is too noisy, it's going to help like smoothen out these white areas. And don't worry, some things always look like the skin, like here it's already popping up. So just going to try and shorten, make sure I'm getting as much skin as possible and as less environment as possible, and possibly denoise. I'm going to mess with the luminance. Let's do, I think it's fine, I think, right? So this is the skin, okay? This is the skin, okay? Let me go back and see, okay? So that's the skin. And for you to confirm it's the skin, just come to your vector scope Do you see? This is the skin area on your vector scope. So first of all, I need to do some minor corrections. I can see there's a lot of blue in her skin. I think it's from the clothing she's wearing. Yeah, the clothing she's wearing is reflecting a lot of ambient light, and also the window. So maybe try and getting rid of some of the blue. I can see it's mostly on the highlight, so just try a little bit, not so much. And I hope you can see a difference. Some of the, let's just go to the parade, but don't overdo it. Some of the blue is already starting to go away, so I think it's fine there. And now the next thing that I will do is I'll just crank up some orange midtones, and I'll take a look and see. And I can see now, you see she was very dark, right? But now just from isolating her skin, you see, making sure that she's more visible in the shot, right? So that you can be able to concentrate, just bringing back some life back into her skin. Okay, so qualify, make sure you use a qualifier. And then for the rest of the things, now this is everything in the scene, right? So possibly now this is where you can maybe get stylized. For me, I will say maybe I'll create that cinematic, I don't know, blue orange contrast. I'll just come and take down the red in the shadows. Maybe add some blue, maybe add some green. Okay, and obviously you can see it's very prominent, so to make sure that you're not coloring the shadows the color blue, you need to go to luma versus saturation, luminosity versus saturation. So make sure that your blacks are black like that, and you're not just coloring them. You see, if you move it this way, do you see what's happening? I hope you can see. See, it's desaturating a lot of the dark colors, so don't overdo it, just do it a little bit like that, and it's now fine. It's now fine. Is there anything else we can do to this one? See, very big difference. This is what it was on the show, and this is me having color graded. So as you can see, we brought back some life onto her skin. So let's just do that projection again. Do video clean fade. So this is the difference without and with my color grade. You tell me, which one do you like better? Okay, so just make sure the skin pops, man. Okay, like someone should be concentrating on what you're seeing, not just just listening to my audio, making sure that it's correct. So yes, okay, that's how you typically color grade your stuff. Okay, and you can copy it over. So again, middle mouse clicking, but of course remember to adjust for exposure. You can copy it over, and obviously it's not going to look good, but you obviously know what's your problem. In this case, I think I'll turn down the denoising a little bit, because this image was pretty well lit. And let's go back to this. Let's look at the exposure. Same case for the exposure. Just make sure everything is kinda okay. And see, the good thing about like DaVinci is you can go like a step further. See, like this shot, I can see it's losing a lot of its color because it's doing what? It's like the colors are disappearing. You can just come to these curves here and look for hue versus saturation. So hue, selecting the hue, and then how much saturation do you want for that hue. So in this case, if I was to qualify and pick and even just look, you see, it's the blue on the shirt, right? And you can really like finesse, make sure that it's kind of wide using these things here. You see, it does a very good job of trying to isolate stuff. And I don't need this door part, so this part can go. But if, right, let's go back to this hue versus saturation and just select that hue, and you can see if I was to push it up or just push it down, see, you can desaturate, you can even make the shirt white. But in my case, I just want to add a little bit of vibrance there. Maybe possibly turn down the brightness for the shirt, make sure that the shirt is a little bit visible. And this is now where you can use your qualifier, this one, to isolate. Okay, so in this case I'm just going to say RGB, look, widen it, just add the more of the shirt, not RGB actually. You can use 3D, which most of the time I don't like 3D because it's not that fine to control, but it's very accurate. But I prefer HSL because HSL is a little bit fine on the controlling side, so you can add more of the blues. So this is why like you can use a layer node. You can see the skin is the skin regardless of whether you're dark or you're light skin. You see, as long as you had qualified the skin, it's supposed to remain on the skin. So you see, Dactoscope. It's good, even good I've clicked that one so that you can see it for yourself. But we are here now, right? So I think now I've qualified it. You see, you can just like mess around only with the shirt without messing around with everything else. But I would say the best method for this is to use something like this thing they introduced on this version. Where is it? Not that one. This tracking. So you can just use this tracker, create a stroke around the color you want to track, possibly look at the mask it's creating. So by clicking there and also clicking here, give it time. Okay, so that's the mask that it's creating. As you can see, it's actually very accurate. That's surprisingly accurate. You can also create another one, just trying to encompass this thing, and you can track it forward, which is, it's called the magic mask, which is going to affect a lot of the at the stream because of how heavy that clip can be, of how heavy the mask tracking can be. So just give it a few. See, it's tracking, it's just that it's not showing. But this is not like necessary, but if you feel like you're seeing some certain colors that are distracting, like the shirt there is very distracting, and the good thing is that the shirt is blue. As you can see, it has tracked and shown a stroke, and that's a mask. By the way, you can blur the radius, make it more softer. Possibly let me just use a pen because the mouse is really, a pen can sense the pressure I'm trying to apply. Okay, so for that layer has isolated the shirt. Now the shirt there is on its own. So if I was to take down, you see how you're only affecting the shirt. So that's a way, like, but it's not perfect, but that's a good way that you can you can isolate. If you're not using like DaVinci Resolve 17, then I would say let's reset this. Then I would say maybe create your own custom mask. So in this case, I would like draw a mask here. You know, he's not moving a lot. That's the good thing. So we can get away with a lot because he's not moving. Like we can. Oops, I think I'm clicking. We can get away with a lot by just tracking his movement because he's not really moving that much. So we can just do this Let's go to this one here, change it to frame, go to the very first frame. Should actually, I think I did not do that, but and you can track backwards by, you see he's not moving, so the mask will pretty much stay on him, right? So that's another way. But now you see this one is, it has worked well because I'm not the character's moving, as you can see, and just that, right? And now you can use your HSL qualifier to qualify what you need. In this case, because it's looking at the areas in the mask, it's supposed to do an easy or a quick job, right? And you can, and you know, most of the color of this shirt is actually here, so I'm going to try and move the center here or back there. I think back there is perfect. No. Just make sure you have a clean mask. As you can see, it's still struggling. I don't know. There's something wrong with this seat belt. I wish there was a way. You can rotoscope it out if you want to, but nah, let's just leave it like that because the softening is how strict you want your mask to be, or your isolation to be. So saturation. Yeah, yes. As you can see, I've gotten rid of the seat belt. Thank you. That way. Can increase the saturation. So making sure that it's only the shirt being selected. Oops, the low. I have to be careful with that low. So I will encourage you to soften it because you don't want harsh colors appearing here and there. So be careful. I'll say I'm trying to fine tune it. This is where like a resolve panel will be very useful. Okay, let's leave it there, right? And take it down. So this is why I was saying you need to soften it. You see what's happening around here. If I was to take this to full viewer, there's something weird happening around the belt area, so you really need to possibly soften your mask. That's the first step. I'll say soften it, right? Just look at it and you can see like how much soften it has. Yeah, but as you can see, like I'm just trying to make sure that I recover the details of the shirt by making sure the shadows and I mean that looks pleasant. His skin, though there is a lot of saturation on the skin, so we have to turn that. Let me turn down that orange. His skin, he's already light skin, so he doesn't need a lot of, his skin is reflecting back a lot of his undertones, so possibly you can tone down the exposure for the skin, as you can see, which that looks weird. But so normally I alternate a lot between the wheels, so I'm just going to turn it down a little bit like that. And again, you can see a big difference. We've made a lot of changes, so you can just again copy the color grade from that one, and it's better. Now if I was to, now let's put the full screen mode. Let's see. Okay, if I was to compare this is actually, which is so weird now that I've color graded it. I wonder how they are, like how would you air something looking this flat? I don't get it. Colorists needs to do their job. Compare that to this, you see. And this is, mind you, a pre-downloaded show, so most of the quality is lost. And yeah, I mean, just looks absolutely amazing. But you see, this is where now I'm saying most of the quality was lost. So It's not like working with footage on footage. Okay, and maybe you might be like, oh, this is I don't know, whatever they shot the camera, whatever camera they shot with, oh, this is that, this is this and that. I'll just use my own. Let me use my own footage that I've shot. Again, remember the importance of log footage. Why is it not coming in? That is strange. Let me just try and drag it on the timeline. I think that's gonna force it to come in. So let's start there. Actually, this shot is already going to be a lot of fun because it looks good. You see, the thing is, you can copy the color grade. You can. I normally try and copy because it can save me time. So I think this one is the one that maybe has somewhat the same exposure, but you see, and actually it actually looks not that bad if you look at it. The only thing I might have to change is the exposure. Maybe the shadows are crushed too much. Let's go to the exposure. Let's see. Yeah, actually, I'm surprised that worked even on this shot. Because you see, I'm looking at the parade and you can see the colors are not that crushed. Right, so let me do a video clean feed again. Oops. Is it? Sorry. Only problem with mine is there's a lot of noise. As you can see, if you notice here, there's a lot of artifacting going on. So yeah, also my camera is not as sharp and she's kinda out of focus. So I think that was a mistake on my part. But if I was to, let's do what, let's pick a color grade from the one from Joro, and let's bring back the contrast a little bit. Exposure. Of course, I said the exposure needs to be high. Same things I was doing earlier, so there's nothing different. And I'm trying to look at the so again, as you can see, this is why I was saying skin tones are skin tones. As you can see, even with a different thing on a different camera, the skin tone is still easier to pick. But you can see there's a lot of noise. Now this is why I would recommend you denoise before starting to color grade. So I'll typically maybe put it to 10. I'm going to set this to advanced, break the chain, maybe mess with the chroma, and let's see how that looks. The denoising in Resolve is actually very good, extremely good at its job. And you can see, actually, if I was to just leave this shot like this, let's go to this view, it pretty much looks okay to me. Like, I don't think there's a lot of things I will be interested in fixing. But it's surprising that the color grade from that previous shot has completely worked on this one, and as you can see, big difference. Very, very big, tremendous difference. So I don't know, I like this shot. This shot is looks very good. The colors look actually amazing, man. Only that maybe I might have to tone down the blue in the shadows, but basically same process. So I would say I would say like if you choose to like approach color grading, this is a procedure, so this is not something very complicated, but I would say this is like the process and step that maybe you should be taking. I'm even tempted to like apply the color grade on other clips on that scene and see whether they'll just work instantaneously. So I have another clip of I think the reverse shot of this guy. And I don't know, I like it. The exposure looks good, man. I'm surprised. Let's steal the color grade from this one. Copy. And boom. It's working. It's working miraculously. Of course, I'm not saying be lazy and don't check. Okay. I don't know, be lazy and don't check. That is probably going to mess you up. So, but get into the habit of looking and seeing that things are actually okay and things are not what you assume. You're not just assuming that, oh, things are okay and they're not. But as you can see, regardless of your skin color, you should be able to bring back some redness or orangeness back in the skin just by making sure you isolate the skin tones. And let me look. Let's just even look at the node containing the skin tones. Now it may take a while because yeah, it's a denoising. So as you can see, skin. Now again, like I said earlier, you see there's always objects that look like the skin, so don't really mind those a lot. Okay, you can try and finesse. Maybe where is that qualifier? You can try and finesse. Of course, this is going into the green zones, which is not so good. So you can try and finesse it like that, just making sure that you isolate the skin even more. Be getting rid of the softness a little bit. And you can see I'm just trying to isolate to make sure that the skin is really isolated. I think that's better. Let's look. So yeah, man, I'm surprised at how good that looks. But actually I have to save this as a separate project because it looks so good and I don't think I'm willing to let this go. But yeah, that's color grading in a nutshell. And I wasn't making a wait, let's try this color grade on this one. Oh, okay, okay. I think I should start selling this as lots. Because it seems like they're working everywhere. Damn, that's insane. Look at how much color came back. Actually, that's insane. Like, okay, now to show you, because this one is an extremely dark person, to show you that the skin tones will still remain, let me just, I've selected the skin node and let's look. You see, majority of his skin, of course, this one needs quite a bit of fixing, but it's not something so big that it can cause an issue. I think that helped improve it a lot. Obviously the tree seems to have the same colors as his skin, so I'm not going to mess around a lot. But I mean, even that looks freaking amazing. Just on both ends of the spectrum, they look that's insane. Look, of course, his shirt looks terrible. I not even noticed his shirt, but I mean, just go to like this one. where he is on this side. Just look at how amazing that looks. The skin looks natural, nothing looks out of place. See, just from simple color grading, man, the shot looks like it belongs in a Hollywood movie or something. So yeah, man, I'm just astonished as to how incredibly close like that color grade worked. Maybe I should generate a lot and put it down there for you guys to download and maybe try it. But yeah, man, wow, that's amazing. I don't know, whoever's going to watch this later on, once this is already done, once I'm done live streaming, if you need access to the LUT, like the actual color grade, you can just say. So that's just color grading in a nutshell. Hope you've learned some new stuff. And yeah, man, be sure to wait for my short film. It's going to release very soon, probably December, January, very soon. Something hot is coming, just know that. And yeah, man, I shall see you in the next stream. Bye bye. No.